I'm not actually going to present a website, I'm just going to present a problem. And this is the problem. How many of you can see this? Probably none. This is my dad's favourite picture of my daughter. And that is exactly the issue about sharing pictures. He's 87, and he has no idea how to get this over to Hannah, and Hannah has no idea how to send him an update of what she's doing at university. And I'm stuck in the middle, and I'm the one that takes the call that says, I've got a computer, but how does it work? And then the thing that happened last year was my mum died, and I've inherited 2,000 of these. Some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are slides, some are prints on a wall or that he's taken off the wall. And anybody of my age and your parents' age and your grandparents have got pictures in the loft or under the stairs or in shoeboxes or those kind of fold-out wallets that they had in boots. And there's all this facility and all these pictures knocking around. Now, this audience would know what to do. They'd know what to do. They'd know how to digitize. They'd put them up on Picasa. They'd use iPhoto, whatever. But when you're in your 70s, when you're in your 80s, you haven't actually got that ability. What's more, when you look at something like iPhoto, you go, well, now I'll have to have an Apple. What do I do with that? How do I learn it? So I kind of went through this personal learning curve as well, having got these 2,000 pictures. So I phoned a digitizing company and they said, right, what you need to do is sort them into black and white, sort them into color, send them this, da, da, da. It's like, no, that's your problem. Actually, I'm not interested. I just want a person to come here, and I want you to take them all away, and then I want you to bring something back, which seemed to be a difficult concept. So I got the concept back, which was the disc, and then I looked at it and went, Jesus Christ, I've got 2,000 photos. Now I've got to do something with them. And you're suddenly left with this thing where you have to go through every single one. Now you can kind of see the kind of stuff that you might actually start off with. And the interesting thing that what I've done is I've created a kind of persona for Saga. And I went on the Saga website and said, what do people do with their old photos? And I got this phenomenal response in that people said things like, we put all the negatives in a biscuit tin and then we wrap it up with sellotape and put it in the loft, which was one answer. I then spoke to my godfather and he said, that's interesting. Because I've retired, I've got a lot of time on my hands. So what I've done is I've projected all my slides onto the wall and I bought a scanner and I scanned every single one and then I put a piece of tracing paper up and I projected my Super 8 films onto the tracing paper and I videoed from the other side with my handy cam. And then I bought a new laptop and I couldn't get it all off and I couldn't get it onto my new machine. So I've got another 3 years to start all over again. And those are the kind of issues that old people have with their photos. It's a pain in the arse, it really is. So what actually happens is they all sit on the shelf. And they're hugely valuable, they're very interesting to grandchildren, they're very interesting to great-grandchildren, but they don't get used, they're an underused resource.
Who's got a question?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a customer of this service in the past, but just for individual photos to retouch and stuff. So there's a couple of points that stem from that. Firstly, I'm not completely sure what additional value you're adding over and above decades-old transfer services that have existed. So that's a question. The second point is that I think there's an opportunity to do a lot of correction and retouching work because normally people, they might have a large volume of photos, but often the ones that they're most attached to are in quite poor condition. And there's a startup called Repixel that is worth checking out. And they can do really highly automated or highly systematized retouching processes on bad photos. So for example, in the one that you're showing me there, it needs a color correction filter on it and it needs to have the contrast ratio corrected in the lighter areas because it's washed out. And that can be done pretty easily with the Repixel process. So I think you're concentrating on the bit that's already been done.
Andrew, I think you're absolutely right. The interesting bit is the fact that we pivoted when we saw Repixel. I actually came up with the concept of creating things like the family tree and photo correction and cloud storage for all people when I was actually visiting the factory that Repixel were using in India. So the Repixel factory are the people who will be doing the photo correction on this site.
Okay, so you're building in the Repixel photo correction service?
I'm not building it in via Repixel, no.
You're building in there?
Yes.
Okay, right,
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. All right, and do you think that you're competing against and this industry that's already too established, or do you think you really are? Because it doesn't sound massively disruptive.
I think the interesting thing is the fact that actually I'm competing against everything from Repixel to Scan the Man in the Van, right through to the kind of iPhoto. So I think, and indeed Ancestry.com. I think what's missing for somebody in their 60s, 70s, 80s is actually having an aggregation of all the things, so they can go within one program. I can do my family tree, I can do my albums, I can send it off and get it corrected. Because if I'm dealing with people who aren't actually inherently computer capable, then I'm trying to lower their pain threshold of trying to find new suppliers and having to build different ways of dealing with their albums. So I'm trying to make it a kind of all-encompassing exercise. So I don't think I'm breaking new ground on any of the individual areas, and in fact I'm probably taking on too many competitors, but what I'm trying to do is make sure that it's all in the family, so to speak.
Okay, that's all we've got time for, so thank you very much.
Thank you.